Okay, so welcome to this video, which is going to cover teaching small groups and what you need to know. And I'm really pleased to welcome Dr. Rini Paul, who is, apart from being a GP, also one of our teacher development team in KUMEC. And we're going to discuss some of the slides that we've got around how to facilitate small groups and the theories behind them. So welcome, Rini.
Thank you for inviting me, Martin. It's lovely. I love teaching small groups, so it's really nice to actually have a conversation with somebody about it.
Great. Well, I should think we can manage quite well as we go through these slides. So the first thing I wanted to do really was mention that teaching small groups is something that's quite pertinent in primary care. And certainly was something that happened in my practice when I was training as a physio. And I saw when I was looking through some of your educational materials that you had this statement from, I would assume, the sort of communities of practice theories. So I was wondering, you were just saying that learning changes who we are and it's a transformative process. What was the thinking with this? Was this around the need to be part of groups and Wenger's statement about belonging and negotiating meaning?
Yeah, so I think it's, we really wanted to highlight it's a sort of active process. We've got to encourage students to become part of this group, whether, it's sort of, as negotiating being a doctor, negotiating being in this learning group, and they need a bit of support to do that, and often they start off sort of on the periphery, not quite knowing how to do that, and that's our role as teachers. And really in small groups it's facilitating that, so we really want our students to be able to sort of bring their whole selves to these sessions and really engage with discussions and learn. And you just can't do that in a big group, in a really large sort of lecture theatre, for example. And I think that's a real privilege that we can encourage students to really become part of this group and equal partnerships with us as well as teachers and facilitators in this group.
So yeah, I think that fits in with sort of the modern approaches to sort of collaborative education and pedagogical approaches. And I was just looking at the sort of different levels that we might have and trying to get students involved at sort of meaningful participation. And I think there was a kind of model that you'd found, and it was all about the sort of different levels that learners may be at when faced with a group task or a team approach to something. And you'd broken it down into 3 different levels. And I wondered if we could just talk through those. So, and the teacher's role in taking learners through those levels as well. So if we look at level 1, I don't know whether you could talk to us about this sort of different levels and models here.
Yeah, so I guess as the teacher, one of the teacher development leads at KUMEC, I kind of focus on what it is the teacher is doing. And so for level 1, this is, a bit old school. This is sort of, quite didactic. The teacher is there, usually on a podium, lecturing. Really the teacher's role in it as a level 1 teacher is just transmission of knowledge. It's not really considering who the student is, what they need to know, what they might already know, and what their needs are and how they like to learn. None of that's being considered. It's very teacher centered, so not really appropriate for small group work.
Yeah, so it's more about trying to get an engagement that involves students to get them working with each other and with you, isn't it? And yes. I see you've got the next level there, which is level 2.
And so I think the teacher is sort of it's still fairly teacher centered, but actually they're acknowledging that it's more about kind of not just transmission of knowledge, but maybe of concepts, and that sort of understanding of deeper learning and how students can really engage with the material, but it's still focused on what the teacher is doing, and maybe the teacher isn't being really flexible and thinking, is this the right approach to how the student learns? Have I actually asked the students what individually how they like to learn? So it's it's a step on from level 1, but it's still fairly teacher centered and not that flexible.
So it sounds like level 1 is sort of telling, level 2 is maybe kind of leading, and then we get to level 3, which may be more of a kind of guiding. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we want our small group teachers, I mean, I rarely call them teachers, actually. I usually call them facilitators, to do exactly that, to facilitate the group's learning. And so that's actually finding out what your learners want and need, how they like to learn, and just being really, really flexible, sort of using your toolkit of, so that, you can adapt and that the learners get what they need with a bit of support and scaffolding from the teacher.
So it sounds like, at level 1, you're telling students what they need to know. When you get to level 3, you're guiding them to learn how to learn, and I think there's quite a difference in that spectrum, isn't there? How you approach that.